Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a meeting of the Board of Sewer Commissioners, 15 September. I'd like to call the meeting to order. And have a roll call.
Sandy Slavin. Donna Brock.
Jim Gibberti.
Peter Dunlop.
Malcolm White.
Okay. We have no minutes for approval at the present time, so we went to abatements. We've got two abatements. The first one is for 25 Oak Street. And the recommendation is it be approved for $646.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Donna. All in favor?
Aye.
500. And we have one for Pilgrim Avenue. And I can find them, I don't see any.
Recommend for approval.
Okay.
So moved.
Do I have a second on that one?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
500. Oak Street, that's Oak Street again.
Guy, you didn't bring my previous week's folder?
Yeah, that probably is, probably in Christiana has a stack of them.
I'll go in tomorrow and pick them up.
Okay, those are done.
We needed the agendas and put this together.
Yep.
Do you think we should do C before D?
Okay, whatever, doesn't make a difference. Well, not necessarily, no. This discussion and Greece situation. I know between the weather and all, and the condition of some items, we've had some odor issues at the plant, and it looks like grease is also a very strong contributing factor to that. And it seemed to be improving, because you stopped taking in grease and septage there for a while, right, Guy?
It has nothing to do with odor. We stopped taking grease and septic because we have no air in our aeration basins. Our diffusers are shot, our blowers are shot, and our basins have been anoxic, which is septic. So because we can't process the normal stuff through what comes from the town, we stopped taking outsides because we have no air.
That's fine.
The temperature has changed, so now we're getting some air, but we still are lacking. Even with grease off and septage off, we still can't make enough air. So the real issue, so let's get back to the issue, is that we simply don't have enough air for the process.
Right.
We violated every part of our permit this month, and it deals with air. We have no air. Our
And I'm
whole
sorry,
system's anoxic.
no air?
Yeah, we have, so what yeah, I don't.
What, I mean, we all have air. What is the level that says you have no air? How do you determine that?
A meter. So in your body, you have 19% oxygen, and this balance, it's just physics, and so you have so much oxygen. So in wastewater, we need 2 parts per million of dissolved oxygen within the aeration basins.
So there's no air.
So we have
in the product.
0.01, so we have none. So if you have no air, your process cannot work. That's our issue.
Okay.
We had 2 experts come in. We've got quotes for new grids, which is defined diffuser bubbles like you see in a fish tank. That's $200,000. We got quotes for blowers. We're trying to move all this forward. So that's where we are. Our permit expires. Our permit ends the end of October. It won't be as critical. It gives a chance to take some things down. As far as grease odors, we have a clarifier that's broken, and it's not removing any scum, and the scum comes from what comes into the plant from the businesses, from the restaurants and all that good stuff. So that scum comes in.
We're not taking any more in to add to it.
We're not taking any more grease in because we don't have the air.
That's fine.
Once we get the air, we can go back up and running and do our normal rotation.
In order to get the air, we're gonna have to get a new blower, is that correct?
We have to spend, we're gonna have to
Okay.
start with the
And now,
grid.
has that been ordered?
No, it's because it's $500,000 for the blowers, and it's $200,000 for the diffusers. I cannot order something at that magnitude without going out to bid, and we're preparing the specs as we speak. Then we gotta figure out how we're gonna pay for the damn thing, and we'll get that figured out too. So that's where we are, right?
So
It's
you're
a
looking at basically 700,000 you're gonna need to come up
minimum,
with.
minimum, because we have to keep money aside for anybody that's gonna install it.
Right,
So that's where we are with that.
okay, so that's,
So the parts are 750,000 plus installation.
That's correct.
so you'd be looking at what?
There's only one blower?
You have 3 blowers.
Are they all broken?
You have 3. No, 2, two is working, but it's not, the blowers, it's called efficiency. It's like efficiency. So the entire upgrade has come to its life expectancy. Nothing's efficient. And so the grid, I'll call it, it's diffuses. It's rows and rows and rows of fine, if you will, discs that air is blown through, and they're all gone. And the same thing with the blowers. We're replacing motors, VFDs, and they just can't seem to keep up. So we're gonna start with the grid because that's the least expensive and the easiest to get to, which may give us a bigger bang immediately, and then we'll do the blowers. So we're thinking of doing it in stages to keep the costs down, because we've gotta chase money. And so I
I
wanna
heard
chase.
grid, but I only heard diffusers and blowers.
Blid-
What's the grid?
The grid is the diffusers.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, the grid is the diffusers.
So the blower is actually blowing,
They're blowing, they're not blowing as much as they should, but they're
Not enough.
blowing.
but the air, the problem's on the other end. It's not like you could hook up a compressor and make up
No.
the blower.
No, a compressor is what we call high pressure, and a blower takes, when a blower is lower pressure, moves more air volume, where a compressor has higher pressure and less air volume. So they're two separate units. And so blowers, we have 3. We have one that's, is designed to run the facility, one for the peak areas, and a third for redundancy per DEP requirements in case you have to take one offline. So that's why we have 3. And we've been alternating them since 2005. So all of them have had issues. We repaired components on all of them, and they're all worn. They just get worn up because they run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days. So the life expectancy isn't the greatest. So they're ends of life expectancy.
So we should have bought some years ago.
I'll get into that off the
Double A
record.
Cycle
I'll
replacement.
get
yeah.
off that off the record. Because
Okay.
what it means is it's gonna
Go.
reduce energy.
Sorry.
all right, okay, I know where that goes then. So grease is off the table for now anyhow, for anything that we do.
Nobody's in the meeting, huh? It's open to the public?
You can
Which
sit
meeting are
in.
you looking for?
It's a sewer meeting?
Yes.
Yeah, you can,
Okay.
you can listen.
Yeah, okay.
Review of P and
My
L.
father's coming,
Oh, okay.
92.
We have a review of P and L on Greasella.
I have nothing. It's paid for, the numbers we gave to you before from the other accountant, but I have nothing with me.
So it stopped working. You're not working it.
No, we're not. We're not doing anything with grease. So let's back up. The grease sealer takes manpower. We have no staff. Everything we do today, I have no staff. We had 18 staff and everything worked fine. We can't even get maintenance done. I'm down to 5 or 6 laborers with no knowledge, and it's a rotating thing. We have no operators. So we have an issue with staffing. So
How
everything
many
is,
people are we short in the plant?
let me get, so for actual
From our-
operators, we have no operators, so we're short 6, 7 operators. As far as laborers, that's all we have. We have, I believe, 5 or 6. We used to carry 11, and then we have 3 managers. We used to carry 4. We used to carry 3 ladies in the office. We have 2, and so I have to do a head count for you. We're short quite a bit.
So you're down about a dozen people.
Yeah, because we carried 18 staff. Yeah, we carried 18 staff.
I could not write fast enough.
Yeah,
What's
please
the,
go over operators, how many?
6 operators.
I have no. I have
you
one
have no
operator.
operators and you used to have 6.
Yes.
Laborers, how many do you have now?
Everybody's a laborer. We have 6.
6, and how many did you used to have?
We used to have 3 because that's all we can hire is laborers. We can't hire operators. So I have to have bodies.
So you're up to speed on laborers. You said 6 and you normally have 3. Just, I'm trying to
Yes.
put some numbers there.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, so we have more laborers because we can't get operators, and we have to have bodies to do something, we gotta,
Okay, and you have 3 managers when you used to have 4.
correct.
And office staff, you have 3 as opposed, you have 2
Two
instead
instead
of
of
3.
three.
Who'd you lose?
Well, we lost, the young
You
lady.
got 3 in there now, don't
We
you?
have 2.5. We have 3 bodies, 2.5 hour, 2.5. She's part-time. We used to have 3 full-time, so one was cut to part-time, and,
So you
that's
have
another story.
2.5 in the office instead of 3.
Correct. So the key to operations is operators who understand the process and how to operate. We have none. So we're hiring laborers just to have people doing things, and because they don't have the knowledge, we train them on the rudimentary skills, but not the operations. They just don't, it takes
So
years
who
and
runs
years.
the operations?
We have laborers and we have
You outsource?
we don't outsource much. We outsource the checks of the stations, because we have 45 of them, that we outsource with Weston and Sampson. But we gotta start outsourcing more. I have weekends, I have 2 operators that we pay that come in on weekends, because we have nobody on weekends, so I bring in 2 operators.
Where are
They're
you getting
private.
2 if you only have 1?
No, these are, she's asking about contractors. I have
So
2
these are outside
I
contractors?
have
you
2
bring in
outside
on
contractors,
weekends.
that I bring in on weekends, they're outside contractors. I can't get any outside contractors during the week.
Are you bringing in any laborers?
No, not on weekends. Laborers, we have 6 for during the week.
No
We're
managers,
st-
so.
And we've got interviewing more laborers,
So
so we're trying to get up
the
to,
2 operators you're bringing in on weekends, does that mean we're paying them premium pay?
we are.
Versus the salary you would have paid 6.
There's a lot of factors you'd consider, the cost of having somebody, there's benefits, et cetera, et cetera. So
Well, I
that,
just,
that could be an
yeah,
argument,
but
but
just-
we're paying good money for an operator for one day. It's $500 a day per operator, one on Saturday, one on Sunday.
but there is some salary reduction in your budget because you're not at staff
That's correct.
for
We
some
s-
of these.
That's right.
But what's happening is that you're having to pay
Transfers
more
of
money for
dollars.
outside contractors to cover that. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
It's just a tough market, and I think we're not the only ones feeling it. It's another industry in America that's not feeling staffing issues. So everything is more costly, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's just nature of the beast right now.
Go to the grocery store.
Can't afford it. It's just crazy. I don't care where you go. Now, everything's costly, and I'm told it's gonna get a little bit worse. So it's just something we're dealing with, and we'll work through it. Life goes on.
Okay, moving on. We've got, we all have a list of projects. Sandy, we had this discussion at the capital planning meeting. And I don't have my notes from that, so. This is everything that we've got. No, it isn't everything.
No, what you have there in capital planning was funding, projects that were closing out, et cetera, which we're working with Judy now.
Right.
But I mistook the agenda where it says projects in progress and proposed. I thought you talked about actual progress, like the comprehensive wastewater management plan, the present upgrade to treatment plant, the biofilters for that's what I thought you meant, so.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I was looking for those, I'm looking, and for the,
If you would have asked, I would have brought the capital 5-year plan with everything that's been proposed, but I
If I was-
didn't know to bring it.
my fault, sorry about
I
that.
don't think I have one.
That's okay. And then plus we've got the, these projects, Guy, all of these are funded vis-à-vis, they've been approved by town meeting.
On the capital planning, yes, to my knowledge, everything has been,
But,
it came out of capital within the budget, which goes back, and that was the issue. We just kept them out there, I guess.
yeah,
And
because
some have no
we've got
funds.
some of them are dead.
Yeah, and they have no funds,
Because they
some,
have-
yeah, they're not
and
funded
all.
any longer.
So, I mean, what I'm trying to figure out is, with the numbers that are on the table for the town to deal with as a whole, and I'm not just talking about sewer, but if the flip-flop occurs between, for the police station, town hall, there's another 20 or 30 million they're gonna have to come up with someplace along the line,
They're not gonna take,
outside of us.
yeah, because hopefully they don't take it out of our budget.
Well, no, but
Oh,
I'm saying
okay.
it's outside of us. I'm just looking at the, you know, the total package of everything that's gonna be involved, that the town's gonna be involved with, and we're part of the town, so that's part of the involvement that I'm looking at.
Yeah, but the cost of reusing these buildings are lower than building a brand new one.
I understand
yeah, so-
that, but nonetheless, the money, that's still a dollar figure,
Oh,
and it's a high
Plus
dollar
the
figure.
5.4 million to replace the middle school roof. That's
Right.
another capital that will be
Exactly.
asked at town
well,
meeting.
this isn't a capital planning
No.
meeting.
As- But
These-
that's why I
these-
want these numbers
Yeah, well,
more
that-
accurate, so
that's
that
why
we
I'm
know what
asking.
we're talking about.
But are these numbers approved?
Sorry?
Are these numbers approved?
Yes.
Or is
Yes,
this what we're
the-
looking for?
What you
They're
see
approved.
there next to it is what has been approved.
Okay, well, the item,
And the,
ongoing aeration tank structure,
they've
does
not,
that cover what Guy is just talking about?
No,
the
no,
only,
it's a-
sorry, the only thing that's been approved are those with a star. And next to it is the town meeting it was approved in. The ongoing was,
Okay,
Guy
okay,
wanted
okay,
it to be
okay,
continued.
I got it. So in other words, all of these numbers have not been approved.
That is right. Everything that says ongoing has not been approved. Only thing starred has been at town meeting.
Geez, we got 3 trucks in there on this list.
They've been delivered.
They've been delivered.
Don't have anybody to drive them, I'm sure.
well, we just lost our driver because he got another job making more money, he left. So we have no driver, we're looking to hire another one. So the biggest issue in staffing, it's a very fickle market because people, if they make $1 more, they're out. And so we can hire, train, it's just retention that's the issue. Because once you get a license in your pocket, you put yourself out to the highest bidder. Simple as that.
Well, is there a way that you can have people, I mean, in the private sector, if you take educational benefits, you have to pay them back if you don't stay with the company for 2 years, say.
This is government, we don't do that kind of stuff.
Then maybe they should.
Well,
Maybe
we
they
look
should.
into it, once I train somebody, I can spend $25,000 in education. It doesn't bind them to anything. Once they get their certifications and their licenses, they're open to the highest bidder. And they will seek the highest bidder and they'll move on. It's pretty straightforward stuff. There's no way for me to require them to stay or say, pay back the money we spent. So this just isn't going to happen. We've talked about it, and I think there's some legal ramifications, there's some union ramifications, that's just something we cannot do.
Can we look into that further, Mr.
Oh,
Chairman?
yeah, I mean,
I mean,
I have been right along.
Oh, you have?
Oh, yeah, this is not a new item, it's just coming up, you know, floating to
Yeah.
the top a little more than it was, that's all. I mean, but it's nothing that we haven't, I mean, Guy and I have talked about this, I've talked about this with, Doreen, as well, Derek, but it's, you know, in a lot of cases, our hands are tied, Guy's right, as soon as you take and train somebody, put them through the program, they get their licenses for something else, it's, you know, up goes the flag, you know. I'm available, you know, what are you gonna bid for me? So you're SOL.
Yep, and it's nothing personal, because a lot of these folks I'm still in contact with.
Yeah.
It's all about money there.
That's.
Doesn't make them bad people, they just have families to feed, they got lives to
It does
go.
make them bad people, because the taxpayers are training these people.
Yeah.
And they're putting out the money in the investment, and we're getting nothing in return.
So you're talking about a time of integrity, a time of loyalty. These are new times. We don't have any of that. There is no integrity. There's no loyalty. So if you spend money on someone, they're more marketable. They go in the market. Just the way it is. You know, when you look at resumes today, you're lucky to see 2 to 5 years. There was a time when you see 10 to 15 years. You would look for a 10-year minimum to say the stability of individual. When we review, today we review, where they fill it out or if it's an actual resume, we're looking at 2 years, 3 years. That's what you're seeing.
That's
and
the standard,
That's the
pretty much a
standard. That's
standard
just-
in the
And
market.
this, I can't control
no
that.
matter
That's
what.
beyond my control. And
Why doesn't, and this, I'm just throwing this out, why don't we look into training people for jobs that, even senior citizens that still wanna work? Do you know what I mean? I'm just
don't know
saying,
what
why can't we throw that out there? Why can't we open this up to a more,
I don't know. We've been through the veterans. We've opened it to everybody. It depends. First of all, who wants to work in wastewater because it's a negative connotation. It's like, oh, wastewater, oh, that's the drudge. Those people have no intelligence or whatever. So it's a very tough market. We try marketing to the high schools. The BCC has a tremendous program. Matter of fact, our lab tech is from that program. We got him. We're training him. He just got his grade 5, and we're hoping to retain him. But I have no guarantee that he'd stay. But there's just no answer. It's the times we're in. Narcissism, the self-preservation is the highest priority of all. It's about me. And these guys that we train and they put them in the workforce, and somebody comes along and they look in the paper and they see I'm making 22, this guy's offering 28. Let me tell you something.
He's gone.
They're gone immediately. And can I begrudge them? Absolutely not. I understand it. These are young kids. They've got families to feed. They houses they want to buy. And when you pay a non-living wage, what do you expect? I don't have any, to be frank with you, any animosity towards the individuals. Sometimes my animosity is directed on to us because we can't pay them the money we should to be very competitive in the industry. That's all. And the private sector is in the exact same way because they get people in and they bounce because of money. And so I think it's just the times. I don't think it's whether it's government. I just think it's the times.
Yeah,
People
it's
are trying to
been pretty much
maximize.
that way for the last 10 years.
Yeah, I think that's just the way it is.
It just seems to have gotten worse since the COVID situation. People have found out some that can work from home decide that they're not never going back to an office. So,
Just the way it is.
so the market,
There's a lot going on.
the labor market has decreased.
We have the town-wide, we have no staff. The whole town is suffering, and it's not because of any, it's not just Wareham, it's a countrywide
Oh, yeah.
issue. What we're experiencing in Wareham is not unique to Wareham, it's everywhere,
We
so
don't have the lock on the market for that.
it's the nature of the beast. We're trying our hardest, we're trying our best, and perfection isn't something we profess to have, but it is what it is. We do what we can. And kids don't need benefits. If you can hire somebody, us older folks, benefits have more meaning because we're close to retirement, we think of health insurance, but you get a 22-year-old kid, what does he care about benefits? All he cares about is the actual monetary stamp in his paycheck every week so he can support his family. That's all he cares about. And that's what we're competing
we're
with.
better off with cesspools.
How
Yeah,
old are the two kids you bring in on Weston and Sampson on weekends?
They're not, one is probably in his late 40s, and one is probably early 50s.
How come Weston and Sampson can keep them?
They pay him a lot of money.
So,
I can't compete with Weston and Sampson.
I'm paying
so are you telling me that we have to privatize in order to compete?
I said that 3-4 years ago, and I'm not gonna
Is
stop.
that a yes or a no?
That's a yes. Yes. I would not back away from that statement for years. We cannot compete.
If we privatize, it's going to cost us a lot more than what these people, even if you had a full staff, would cost us.
I don't know. We started this process, I think, 3 years ago, interviewing, and we
How
got
much
some
do you pay
ideas, so
your
I don't know.
operators?
They're averaging $22 to $24 an hour. Weston Sampson is paying between $27 and
How much do you pay
$37
the
an hour.
laborers?
I think they're 20 to 22. I have to be frank. We just did a
What
new
about the managers?
manager 50 to 60,000. And this is without overtime. This is straight pay. And there's other things that that you could factor
So
in.
it's not their FICA and Fed contribution from the town?
No, it would, because there's other things. There's on-call pay, there's overtime pay, Then there's,
But even just base pay,
That was like
it's
just-
more than an hourly rate that it costs the town.
absolutely. There's a, when you pay somebody $20 an hour, the actual cost is probably $40 an hour. There's cost to hire people. Those of you that are in business understand that when you hire somebody, that's one cost, and there's other costs associated with it. And so what you're paying is greater, and makes it difficult.
But they don't wanna hear that.
Of course, they don't want to hear it.
Been there, done that, tried that,
Yeah,
doesn't
'cause
work. They don't even,
They just have a family to
Right on.
feed. That's all they care
yeah,
about.
that's all they're interested
What,
in.
when I cast that check, what do I have in my hand to live on? That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Totally understandable.
Do you know what we're paying those two people that come in from Western and say, what's it costing us?
$500 per person per day.
500 per day?
So that's that's 2,000 a weekend.
Now, one works Saturday, one works Sunday. That's it.
Oh, so they don't work together, okay.
No, I just need one. I need a
So
grade,
it's-
and it has to be a grade 5 operator, because I have no operators, and the law says
So
that's
that's
a grade 5.
1,000 a
So,
weekend.
yeah, so I pay 1,515 to be here Saturday and Sunday to cover us
Okay.
legally.
That's 52,000, and we don't have to pay any benefits or anything
Pay
like
nothing
that.
for it.
Guy, your laborers are union,
Everybody's union. There's
your
not,
operators are union?
everybody's
So
union.
how can you compete? Doesn't the union tell you what you pay?
I have the union and the town negotiate a pay, and whatever it is what I pay. But, so in that negotiation, the union may ask for more and the town says no. That's between that battle between our attorneys and their attorneys. But we're still not, bottom line is we're not competing. We cannot compete with the open market. We're well below the market.
Are these Westerly Sampson people union?
No. Not many, I don't know of many private contractors that are union.
So, is it conceivable that we tell the people that we hire that they don't have to join the union and therefore pay them more money?
So, by law, they don't have to join a union,
Okay,
but I gotta look at the law again because it was changed, right? There's a new law passed about union shops. So people come in and do not have to join the union. But I think you gotta pay them, and I'd have to look at the
yeah,
fine
okay,
print.
I
but
understand that.
They don't have to join.
But can we pay them more money if they're not in the union?
I don't believe so. I believe the matrix is the matrix.
What's the matrix?
Matrix is
When
what
did
the
that
union and the town
No, the
decides
union's
on.
out of it now, they're not union.
I don't have that option, because there's no other mechanism to pay them.
Well, I'm saying, do we make that mechanism?
That would be up to the town. We can't make it.
So in other words, pretty much everything is up to the town, and this is all just a lot of wasted time us talking about it.
Just presenting facts, that's all, but,
You're absolutely correct.
Okay, well, let's talk about something that we have control about.
Well-
What's that, Coffee Town?
Pretty close, warrant articles. We've got,
I sent out copies of the updated 5 warrant articles,
is it 5 or 4?
5.
5, what did I miss?
Did everybody copy that, print them so you have them in front of you to discuss?
No, I don't, Sandy. I don't have them.
I didn't see them last time I checked. When'd you send them?
To what emails?
At least 2 days ago, if not 3.
I didn't get them.
I didn't get a rejection.
5 articles.
Could it be in your spam folder?
No, I don't think so.
Mine probably,
Just 5 articles.
mine
Right.
is still probably just on.
Okay, then I will try to do this. The first one is a engineering cost for the clarifier upgrades. I'm not sure, it just says to see if the town will raise and appropriate or transfer $2 million from available funds to authorize or any enabling authority for the purpose of developing engineering plans for capital improvement projects for secondary clarifier upgrades. I want to make sure that this is what we're doing for secondary clarifier upgrades. Is that the right words to use?
Yes, right, because it's 2 individual parts, yes. When you say there's 2, there's one for engineering design for Swiss Beach, one engineering
No,
design.
I'm not, I'm just
I'm
going
just
to
talking- no,
clarify.
no.
There's three of them. One for Swiss Beach,
Go ahead.
Smith Street, one for the headworks, and one for the clarifiers.
And that's fine, yes.
So this is,
Okay.
I want to make sure we're using the right words to
Yes.
present to town meeting.
Okay.
Secondary clarifier upgrades. Now,
Upgrade/replace,
okay,
because we're gonna probably replace them. We're looking to put new clarifiers.
okay. And then it goes on and says, I need an explanation as to what clarifiers do and why we need them.
Holy cripes, yes.
You need it clarified?
They need it clarified, or
You got it. I mean, what do I tell? I need something in my explanation as to why we need to upgrade or replace our clarifiers. Why is it worth a $2 million engineering plan?
We have to tell the town.
I have
No, I
to
get
tell
that.
them
No, I
something.
get that.
As-
Equipment's at end of life.
It's just, so I'm trying to think, you don't need the definition of the process, you just need what a
What
clarifier
does-
is.
what
The
do they do?
The clarifier clarifies, it removes the solids from
Okay.
the waste stream,
Wait a minute, remove solid from
the
waste.
waste stream, yes.
Oh, you wanna call it
Stop
product?
right there.
I call it product, but it's from waste.
Waste.
stream.
Yeah, I'd stop right there as far as
Okay,
explanation is concerned on that end of it. You don't need to go any further.
So we need it because it removes the solid from the waste stream.
correct.
And we need the engineering plans.
And
Those
we're
are
doing this because
required
what
to
we have
understand.
is end of life.
It's end of life, it's.
How many clarifiers do we have?
We have three,
And all three of them are end of life?
yes, some worse than others.
And how many are we planning to upgrade or replace?
We don't know, one or two. We're looking, we're looking to put one big one or two big ones and replace all three, so that's that's the design.
So that would be, the purpose is that we currently have three that are end of life.
I wouldn't put that in the explanation.
We have, what do I tell them? How
Just
many,
put
how many
so-
clarifiers am I gonna get with
so-
this engineering study?
Sandy, at the town meeting, there'll be engineers explaining everything about
Yeah.
this. There's gonna be a presentation on what a clarifier is, what it does, what the
Let them
flow
do it.
is, what the loading
This
is,
doesn't have to be in
why,
here.
so I don't know if
I
that's.
want something in the
Yeah.
explanation.
Okay,
And you just said it, remove solids from the waste stream.
Okay.
We have,
There we go.
that's it.
That's all you need. That's what they do.
Yeah,
That's what we need to.
Engineer plans are required to
If the
fully
engineer's gonna be there and
understand,
explain it, we
this-
don't need to do
sorry,
it more, yeah. That's all.
I
I don't
just-
think that you're going down the right track. I think they're gonna want, if you've got three clarifiers now, and you're gonna have three clarifiers later, what do you need an engineer for?
Because it's the law. We're applying for SRF funding.
It's,
For low percent interest through the abatement trust from the state of Massachusetts and the federal government. It's the law.
Yeah,
We have
exactly.
no option. If we don't engineer, we don't get the money.
it's like a new
Pretty
school.
straightforward.
You wanna do a new school, you've gotta have an engineer, you've gotta have the plans drawn up, and you've gotta submit it before you can even apply for the
Straightforward.
funding. If
And
that
to
isn't done first, you
to
don't
answer
even
your
have the
question
chance.
fully, clarifiers are designed and engineered for specific application for every specific plant. It's not a pull off the shelf and put it in play. It
Well,
has to be
we've got
built.
three. We can't just
They-
put three duplicates?
No, the three that we have are insufficient sidewall, they're insufficient baffles, they're insufficient draft tubes, which is no longer technology.
Okay,
They're
sorry,
from
Guy.
1972.
1972, so what you're looking for is an upgrade in the engineering and construction
Absolutely.
of the clarifiers, so, because
Yes.
these are so old.
They're so old, they have, now the new
Does that help you, Peter? I
clarifiers.
mean,
I
it's,
thought we relined these just a few years back.
What we did is we podged the concrete because the concrete was failing. It doesn't change the dynamics of what it is. It's still old, it's like painting a 1972 pickup, still a 1972 pickup. Doesn't change anything, it just looks prettier, or it's more structurally sound, but it's still old. It's like getting a facelift. You
Then-
can put a facelift on me, I'm still an old man.
my continuing the explanation, engineering plans are required to fully understand the scope and cost of this project.
That's
And
fine.
you won't
Yep.
qualify for grants without them.
I don't know that. You want me to put that in the explanation?
You
Part
can't.
of the explanation we just got.
Yes,
Guy?
SRF funding requires engineering.
It was the selling
Wait a
point as
minute.
far as I'm
So
concerned.
Sandy, let me be clear. Why we got engineers, to get the SRF funding, the federal government, the state requires us to have engineered plans presented to them to get the funding. So we need to
maybe
pay.
Do
just
you
say
want that
that.
included in the
Well, maybe
explanation?
just say the state requires it.
But that's the best explanation for all of this.
Yeah,
Just the
Exactly.
state
End of
requires it.
story.
yeah.
You
I
can do a
agree.
small
That's
blurb on what they
Engineering
do.
plans are required by the state
Yeah,
Upshot is-
that's it, don't say anything more.
Gets
to
confusing.
fully understand the scope and cost of this project.
Yes,
Yes or no?
yes.
Okay. So I will continue that explanation on the next two articles that we're here to discuss. The next one is for $2 million for headworks. I'm not sure, are we replacing the headworks? What are the headworks and what do they do?
The headworks of the building that we went to in the very top of the plant with all the screens in them, all the grit removals in them, all the electronics. So we're gutting the building and replacing everything. We're replacing the electrical, we're replacing the apparatuses, which would be the screeners, the grit removers, the septic receiving
What do I
facility.
tell the public? Give it to me in the words, capital improvement project to replace the headworks.
Which is the preliminary treatment of a wastewater treatment facility.
Are they once again
It's the
required,
very first step.
Very first step.
are they once again required by the state? Well,
'Cause we're-
that's enough then, Cindy.
The engineering is
So
required
it's
by
the
the state.
preliminary treatment of the waste stream?
Yes, the first part of the.
Stream.
Stream.
I think
Are we a
Malcolm said
tertiary
it
plant?
good. Yes, we are.
We're a tertiary plant, so
So
it's
he's saying it's the
step
first
one.
primary. Everything goes through the primary. And again, the
And
engineers
there'll
will
be
do a
engineers
PowerPoint.
that, okay, now the third article is for the $2 million for the, let's see, developing engineering plans for the conversion of gravity sewer lines to low-pressure sewer lines that feed to the Swiss Beach Smith Street pump station.
That's correct.
I think I got that one, because it was pretty much the same wordings that we used for the Ruggles.
Yes. For the Ruggles and catchment area.
And I'll
And-
put the same cost of the engineer required.
Absolutely, because we're borrowing the money at 0 or 2%, and it's required by the state to have engineered plans.
You have to have the engineered plans before you can apply for that in the first
It's all
place.
part of the process. They won't even talk to us.
Plans to apply for engineer plans.
You have to have engineered plans to apply for toilet paper.
What a scam.
Okay, the fourth article, it was recommended that because we did not, the $3 million for the Narrows to WPCF was not sufficient, it was recommended that we rescind the article that was approved back in, spring town meeting. Spring town meeting of 22?
Yes.
Yes,
22. Okay, so it just says that, to see if the town will vote to rescind, 22 Spring Town Meeting, Article 17 for $3 million to line the force main. The explanation, all bids were in excess of the approved $3 million. A new article is being submitted for the funds required to complete the project.
yep,
Are we submitting a new article?
yes.
Yeah, that's
the
coming
next-
up.
That's the next
That's
thing.
the next one.
How much are we looking at?
5 million. 4.6 was the lowest bidder.
No, there was a recommendation, anyway, it just says that
4.6 was the lowest?
there was a recommendation out of capital planning,
5 million.
5 or
5 million.
5.5?
Five.
I think 5 was the
So,
final number.
so because of that recommendation, that's what I'm proposing here, so I need you people to talk about whether or not you want the 5 million.
Jeez, almost double what we figured?
Yeah, here's the question, why did we get 3 and why are we now 5? What happened since we had an estimated,
So
an engineering?
the cost of the
estimating.
product
Everything's crazy.
was the same, right? So we estimated $3 million to put it in. It's still $3 million. Where the cost was is the bypass. Because piping and elbows and pumping, all that stuff is A, difficult to get, B, doubled in prices a lot of
Did
times.
we
So
include the bypass when we came up with the first $3 million estimate?
No, we
So we
figured,
never considered the bypass.
we thought the bypass would be about $300,000-400,000. That's what was recommended.
And right
It
now
came
it's
in
2
at
million.
1.6. Yeah, it came in at 1.6. It was 3, and 1.6 is 4.6. So it came in at 1.6, was just staggering.
Okay, so what I'm using here is this, really the same words that we had used for the original, $3 million estimate. I'm just changing the value to 5 million. It says
So, are you finished with the article?
I just wanted to say that I'm using the same words that we used in 22.
We're going with a bypass guy? We're not going with truckers?
No, we have to bypass because when we fix the pipe, the station can't come offline. Because it services all of the town of Wareham, including
I
the hospital.
understand that.
So we have to, the flow still has to go from Narrows Pump Station to the plant. So
Right.
you set up what they call a bypass. We have a bypass, the pumping goes in there and it sets up a whole new above-ground
Wait a
series of
second,
pipes.
I understand what the
Okay, yeah, so
bypass
that's, yeah,
is.
we always
I
went into
thought we were
bypass.
going to truck it. I
No,
thought
we
this-
can't truck because the price of trucking was greater than that bypass.
Plus you
Now,
don't have any
Is
truckers,
this what
Peter.
the engineer recommended at the time?
At the time, trucking was cheap, we're gonna truck.
Right.
When they did the numbers, it doesn't make any sense to truck, period, so
So
trucking's
now we're
out.
gonna build a bypass?
Yes, we have to build a bypass, yes.
Are we gonna keep the bypass once the pipe is lined?
No, because most of
Why not?
most of it's leased. You're paying for lease, you're paying for staffing 24 hours, there's a
How
lot that
much
goes
would it
into
cost us to keep it, so we have it?
I'm afraid that, I'll ask. I have no idea, it's gonna
I
be
mean, if we're gonna
substantial.
spend all this money to put a bypass in, leave it there and we have a Band-Aid ready.
No, because, Peter, it goes above the ground, over the bridge, it's gonna be, it's going
If
to
we're
be
allowed to
above.
put it in, we're allowed to leave it in.
No, because there's gonna be police officers, there's gonna be, we can't leave, we gotta put temporary berms for people to drive over it, everything's above ground, we can't leave
We'll
it
go
above ground.
underground when you have to go by a street.
We'll try to go, but we'll have to mound it, I don't think we can leave it. I can ask the question, but I don't think that makes sense.
$1.6 million for a temporary bypass?
Absolutely, absolutely,
And you're telling me trucking would be more?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh, right
Well,
now,
wait.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
When
think
do
of
they
how
switch
much
to the
product
electric
comes into that pump station.
Oh, I understand that, it's huge, it's probably better than 50% of what goes through the system, I totally understand
Yep.
that.
Everything on that side of the town.
yeah,
I just-
absolutely everything on that
I
side.
can't
So
stop
if-
that pump station cannot stop. Back up the entire side of town, we'd shut down Wareham, we'd shut it down.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Not surprising. We're talking maybe $8 a gallon for fuel oil this winter. Is any of it surprising?
No,
Would-
no.
What would
I'm
it
not.
cost, what
It
would it
doesn't-
cost us to run a new
Doesn't phase
line
me
up
one
Sandwich
bit,
Road
looking at what's going on.
and go that way to the plant?
And I
don't
still
know.
dabble in
I have
what
no
I used
idea.
to.
We
Well,
looked
I
at
thought-
it,
I
we
thought
looked at
when
it,
they come
Peter, it
back
was
with a
$10 million.
After
Originally,
6 months,
$10 million
or a
for a
year,
new line in.
No good?
30, 40.
And the issue was we have to directional drill because we can't go over the tracks.
Oh, the
It's
numbers
Sandwich Road.
stagger.
It's just,
Go
Tracks
under the
there.
track.
I can't put a
Get
finger on
directional
it.
drill.
Go under
But
the
It's
tracks
just
of
the
the
numbers
bridge.
are just like,
Have to, directional drill, yes, 10 million.
make you explode.
That was 3
Absolutely.
years ago.
So the relining, we've gotta dig up the street.
Yes,
Right?
we got this parts of digging
We
up
have to
to the
get to the-
bypass. To get to the pipe, we gotta dig pits, all that, yes, there's
Yeah,
some digging.
okay. Then we're going to put this line, the bypass, on the surface to accommodate as we move down. So it's not gonna be, the bypass will not be in place the whole length, it will be sectional as we complete components of the replacement.
Now, the bypass will go in place, and the pump station will pump through the bypass to the treatment plant.
For the
period.
whole project.
The whole project.
Regardless of how quickly the underground occurs in the
Because we're
relining.
gonna try to get through the underground as fast as we can, but the bypass has to stay online, because that pump station has to run 24 hours a day.
Yeah, but, you know,
What was the length again?
1.9 miles.
1.9 miles.
Would it be cheaper to do it as Sandy suggested? With just, quarter-mile bypass at a time and move it down the street?
It would be, but then you're taking the system offline, you're digging a pit, you're cleaning the line, then you're lining it and you're stopping. Then you go to the next section, you
Well,
gotta
how
pig
long-
the line and
Yeah,
clean
but
the
then
line.
They're not gonna they're not gonna line it 100% at the time.
No, but every time you stop and put sewer through it, you gotta re-clean. So that cleaning cost's gonna go out of sight. So, cause you can't line a dirty pipe. It's gotta be cleaned, cambered, and then lined. So that means if you wanna do it every quarter mile and keep doing it, then that means you're gonna redundantly clean that pipe instead of once, many, many, many times, and that's a cost. I don't have that. If you want me to add that to the project, I can.
You're cleaning 1.9 miles of pipe.
And it's done.
If you do it in sections, you're cleaning 1.9 miles of pipe.
Yep. So every time you
It's the
put sewer through it,
mobilizations. They'll kill you on the mobilizations and the redundancy.
every time you put sewer through it, you gotta re-clean. Because once we clean it, we'll never clean it again until we're done. You're saying, do it, put sewer through it, do it, put sewer through it, and every time you do that, you gotta come back and clean again. Every single time. So that's where the cost is. It's take it offline.
Well, that's something for an engineer to consider those possibilities.
They have. All this has been vetted, and
But
it's
no,
not
we,
worth it.
okay,
It's all been, we vetted all this. It's not worth it.
Yeah, but the engineer also said it was only gonna cost $3 million.
He goes on existing projections. He doesn't know the market, what's actually gonna happen. We're only trying to project by past. We just don't know. We figure.
Our
That's
prices
today.
right now are good for 10 days, Peter.
It-
10 days.
Yeah, that's very true.
Well,
That's it.
And try to get the pieces and try to get the
Then you better look for
materials.
6 million.
It's
By the
not-
time we get
I
through the
know,
paperwork
I
and the
know.
engineering, that's where it's gonna be. And we'll be going through this again.
We discussed it and we thought it was 4.6 was, that number's still good. It's the lowest number. We added inflation, went to 5. If you think 5.5
But
or
you have
6,
a high bid of 6.
yeah, that doesn't matter. It's a low bid. That one, hopefully it comes in again. It's
okay,
fine.
how about a 5.5 million request? And if we don't spend it, we don't
use
spend it.
No, we
Well,
don't
then
use it.
go for 6. If we don't spend it, we don't spend it.
I'm
What-
not adverse to that.
Hmm?
I don't know if it'd be harder to get it passed, but
Explain why we're
0%,
doing it.
Yeah, and it could be up to.
it's
doesn't mean-
0%.
Yeah,
You gotta
right now-
hammer it.
Explain why we're doing it, because things are rising so fast.
Nobody wants to hear it.
I know.
Nobody
No,
knows
they
what's
don't.
happening, but-
The
Yeah,
thing
but I
is,
mean, they know reality.
No,
reality.
you know reality, and I do, but,
Get them when they come out of Shaw's.
Yeah.
Stop and shop, either one, any one of them.
Yeah, I know.
Folks, what do I go for 6?
Pick a number.
Pick a number.
I'm
That's what
afraid
we're
that the
here.
guy that came in at
Can you say up
4.1
to
is gonna
6?
say I missed something.
And he's gonna say that,
Can we say up to 6?
Because now everybody showed their
I think so,
cards the
last
first
time, I
time
believe
around.
so.
I doubt he's gonna come in at 4.1.
because more than likely, that's now an invalid quote, because how many days has it been since he submitted
Question
the
is,
quote?
can you put in the article up to,
No,
it's gotta be a.
Absolutely.
we'll
it's gotta be
raise
a
and
dollar figure,
appropriate and/or transfer 6 million,
period.
period.
Okay, so we can't go to do the up to, so pick a number. Is 6 the number that,
And if we don't use it,
I understand that, let's get the
We're
number,
back in.
yeah,
worry about the others.
I'd say go for the 6 and
Okay,
explain
Mac?
why we,
I agree with Peter.
6, okay,
I do
Donna?
too, I agree.
Okay,
100%.
and
Go
do
for the
I,
6
okay, go
and-
for the 6, Sandy.
and tell them we're doing this because prices are rising so
we
rapidly.
can't anticipate the cost of the product any more than we did when we estimated 3 million.
Right,
That's
so you
right.
go for 6, so then we're,
Everything's so volatile.
what else do we need on this
I don't know.
article?
Okay,
Anything?
what I now have is I've presented to you 5 articles for the fall town meeting, and I need a vote on the 5. You wanna do all 5 at the same time, or do you wanna do one independent, each separately? Chair.
I just as soon do them all at one time. I mean, we've
So you have
discussed
the
them
2
already,
million
so.
for engineering plans for clarifier, for Smith Street, for headworks, the rescinding of the 3 million, and the submittal of a new 6 million for the Narrows work. Those are your 5 articles.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So, would you say them one more time?
Okay, you have 2 million for the clarifier engineering,
Okay.
2 million for the Smith Street engineering, 2 million for the headworks engineering.
Okay,
We are rescinding a 3 million for the Narrows work.
Okay.
And we are submitting a new article for 6 million for that Narrows work.
Okay, do we wanna make mention that this six, three of it has already been approved?
It will be part of the,
motion.
when we ask
Part of the
them, we'll ask
presentation.
the moderator if and when our fourth and fifth articles are pulled, they are considered together, one right after the
Okay.
other, as
I
opposed
think
to.
that might be helpful, that we're
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
looking for three more.
If they pull the article for the 6 million, we ask that the 3 million be considered beforehand, so they know that we're only asking for an incremental 3 million from what has already been approved. So those are your 5 articles. I make a motion that we accept and vote to submit these 5 articles to fall town meeting.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
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 0.
Okay, that's unanimous.
Geez, somehow it sounds better when we're only looking for 3 more. You know,
We talked about that at capital planning, the best way to represent it, and Mr. Foster suggested we do one to rescind and one to resubmit.
Right.
So it's less confusing for
well,
the body.
I think people can understand it better too, cause they know everything they buy is doubled.
Yep. So, thank you.
I had that argument with my wife today when I saw some stuff come home.
Even coffee.
Coffee's
Yeah.
crazy right now.
Maxwell House is on sale now for $12.99. Unbelievable.
Okay, I'm done with 4E.
All right,
Thank you.
guys, superintendent's report.
Good work, Sandy.
You clarified it for me.
I'll try
She
to,
clarified the clarifiers.
Ouch!
Yes, and it removes the product, the solid product.
so
I don't know,
Mr.
I think there's still some
Which
solid
is
product.
getting deep.
And smelly.
Roto-Rooter next.
Okay, projects, the one at the plant, it's really looking, you can actually notice everything now. If you stop by, you'll see it's really starting to take definition.
Yeah.
We're at the final stages of the new filters, and we're pretty much done with the new basin. We're still waiting for some electronics, which is, we've been waiting 8 months for. They said we'd probably get them by October. The contract's been extended possibly throughout January, according to the DEP. There's just some components we just can't get, so it's been a mess. So we're hoping to get the tank online early winter. Same thing with the filters. We're still waiting for control panels. It's electronics. Electronics, for some reason, are very difficult, and they're doubled in price. I just bought a VFD that I could buy last year for $2,000. Now it's $10,000. And before I could get it in 2 weeks, now it's 18 weeks. So these are the kind of problems we're having wrapping up.
Is that gonna be the same problem getting blowers?
Blowers are 17 weeks minimum, and so that's as this moment.
So,
All right,
So
that's
that's hard,
fine.
it's crazy.
The components you're getting out of China, is that why? Because I know a friend of mine, they just can't get the stock.
There's a lot, I can't answer that directly, but a lot of electronics are not made, there's not much made in America. There's just not much made in America anymore. It just isn't.
No.
There's no, I mean, back in the day where all the cities and manufacturing, it was all American-made, American
we can do
Union,
that.
that doesn't exist any longer. And we all appreciated the cheaper price, we wanted to go overseas, and we liked the cheaper price, and so if it's, but nonetheless, we just can't get them. Yes, there's a lot to do with the supply chain. Ships won't leave the ports until they're full. So if you've got a super tanker coming out of China, they're not gonna sail that till it's full. So if you have a component that's on that particular ship, that ship may not leave until it's full, and whenever that is, it is, and then you'll get it when you get it. That's part of the problem. So we just simply wait. You know, it's the devil we've created over the years. People have made plenty of money, but this is part of the devil. So we're hoping to get them in, and once we get them in, we're good. We'll be rolling, rocking and rolling. So we keep extending the contract through the DEP because they're aware. They're at our monthly meetings. They're aware of the difficulties we're having. So it's just the way it is.
The older ones, for sure.
It's crazy.
Oh, no.
We're trying to, because everything has to be, there's the laws. We're trying to get some components that may be in India. because they're more timely, but the DEP doesn't allow that, but we're trying to make some exceptions. So whatever it is, we're working diligently. 6 and 28's wrapping up, probably another year away, so I'm gonna buy some manholes. I'm having the same issue with manholes. There's not many forges in America. I can get all the manholes I want from India. I get them packs and packs. I've got to find American ones, so I'm looking, because it's a state highway, state contractor, and so
The state wasn't gonna take and do that?
they're gonna do it, but we gotta buy them.
I got you.
We're gonna purchase them and give them to the state, and they'll install them. We just installed, I think, 13 or 14, maybe 16 in Pinehurst that we're gonna have to pay for when the Chapter 90 funds did that.
Right.
Because all the manholes, and throughout the town, but every manhole was busted up. They just couldn't, once they removed them to asphalt, they were junk, so we replaced every one of them. They're all bolt downs and all that, so that was difficult to get, and the cost is actually, I don't wanna see the bill. It's gonna be much more than we anticipated.
When, excuse me, when they removed them to repave,
Yeah, so manhole covers, yeah, they did, they repaid,
well, who's paying for these then?
we're paying for the covers, they paid for everything else, they installed them. Municipal maintenance did the work, but we're paying for the actual structure.
But are those roads being paved under that Chapter 90 or whatever it is, state fund?
That's correct,
Why don't they buy the man covers?
because nothing to do with Chapter 90, nothing to do with, there are manholes, we own them. And over the years, from plows, et cetera, they're all destroyed. All the rings are destroyed, the structure destroyed, and that's the situation throughout the entire town. They're all destroyed, but that's just the nature of the beast. They don't last forever. And we want the roads down to the asphalt, and that's a cost. It's a cost of doing business. I met with Great Hill. They're putting in 100 grinder pumps. I believe they're putting 4 trailers per grinder pump. They're duplex systems. It was sold, and the new owners, Liberty, we finally got a hold of them. The Board of Health and I went down there. They have tremendous amount of failed septic systems, which is really impacting the head of the Weweantic River, but that's another story. So we've agreed to move forward. Right now, there's probably going to be 14 units, 14 times 4 homes coming online within a couple of weeks.
Are they paying for the grinder pumps?
Yeah, they're paid, they're paying for it all. It's nothing to do with us. They're paying for
Do we go
everything.
that far up Main Street?
That's on 28.
Yeah, that's the end, right?
Yeah, so what
Pretty much,
happens
right?
is Gray Hill is here, you go up Kendrick, and they tied in through Kendrick. Because Kendrick, you go behind the fish market there,
Oh,
and then
okay,
there's a
yeah,
place,
Great Hill, think about opposite of Walmart.
Yeah, yeah, okay, all right.
so it comes in the back way. They've, this,
Okay, that's not the one that just sold.
That's not Royal
that's
Crest.
Tamaguini.
No, that's
Yeah,
Royal
that's
I
Crest.
believe that's
Crest,
Toy,
okay.
Tamaguini, that's.
And they're not sewered.
They're not sued.
Yeah, I know that.
No, and they're trying to get sued, and they're putting money in escrow. The state has called us, but that's another story. We'll talk about that some other
But we
time.
don't go that far up the street.
No, but we talked about putting a pump station, a treatment plant up there, but anyways, it's
Okay,
future
well-
planning, so that's a whole new
Oh,
item.
no, well, we can't afford the engineers right now.
Everything's gonna be engineered. So Great Hills, so all I'm saying is that now we have a project going on for Kendrick, because the pump station's already maxed out. We've allowed flow there that we already committed to the trailer park, we allowed other flow. So now we're concerned about that pump station starting to overflow, so we gotta watch it. I have a flow meter that's going into at the end of Kendrick to monitor the trailer park, because when it gets to a certain number, I'm gonna have a major impact, so we're gonna pay attention to that.
What doesn't have the capacity?
The pump station,
Or the lines.
What?
the pump station, the wet wells.
pumps or the line?
The wet well cannot handle the flow. The pump station's too small. So,
What about the pipe?
The diameter of the pipe, I thought that was one of the issues.
the
Somewhere
pump,
down the line, it became smaller and therefore could not take the flow.
the flow, the 8-inch,
Yeah, you're
no,
right.
the 8-inch, what it can't take is the force main is 6 inches, that's maxed out.
Okay, so there it is. We go
Force
from
main.
8 to 6, and there is
That's-
that backup point.
That's maxed.
Yep.
So that pump station was designed for a smaller amount of flow. When we calculated the flow to add in the trailer park, we were at peak.
Yep.
And that's why we fought so hard not to put anything else in, but that's another story. So it's coming online, it's coming to fruition. And so,
An ideal place for that Chinese standalone processing system.
well, it's gonna be up the road, that's
Well,
gonna be in,
That is an,
it's that, And that comes under the project of we're looking at groundwater, and one of the groundwater discharges is up off of Charlotte Furnace Road by the playground, the softball field, I forget the name of that piece of property. But anyways,
Westfield.
Westfield, so they're looking at that, and we've already met with the DEP. There's a lot of bogs and cranberry bogs and reservoirs that we're dealing with, because there's some loading of nitrogen, so we're trying to work through that with hydrolysis, whatever their name,
Hydrology.
So you're looking at
hydrolysis, I think.
alternatives to relieve the pressure of Kendrick,
Big time.
bottom line, okay.
We're also looking at an infiltrator, which is instead of the 8-inch pipe, we're thinking of trying to increase that to 15 inches to be a wet well, to add to the wet well of the plants. We're looking at that too. So there's a lot of things we're trying to do to address it, because it's going to become a huge issue. The watertight doors are on the pump stations, they're in. They're watertight, but we have an issue with the locking system, so they'll finalize that and then we'll pay
When you
for
say
them.
pump station, you mean the 3 of them that are subject
The
to
two that we put on there,
Narrows?
Hines and Narrows,
Hines and
we
Narrows.
got 2 watertight doors.
Which Narrows? Narrow Cohasset or
Cohasset Narrows, just Narrows.
Narrows, not the one at the Buzzards Bay line? Okay.
Cohasset Narrows.
The other 2.
Yes, the other 2, they have watertight
I
doors.
just wanted to clarify
Yeah.
which sites got the watertight doors,
The watertight doors are on,
Mm-hmm.
they're there.
but they can't be locked.
Well, one side can't be locked. They can be locked for water tightness, but physically locking it, because Narrows is a lot of transient people in and out, a lot of fishing, a lot of people, so we just don't want somebody to go in.
Yeah.
And so the wet well is more dangerous. If they go in, they drop right down the stairs into
Yeah,
the wet well.
okay, we
So
don't want them
that's-
coming into the pump stations.
So we gotta fix that lock. The other side is fixed. Hines is good, they lock and everything, but they're watertight. You just bolt them down like a ship hatch, and no water can get in there. And if there is a surge or something, then we protect those pump stations. So they're they're operational, so it's really kinda good. The comprehensive wastewater management plan is kicked off, and now we'll have a series of meetings. And Jim, this is where, in the series of meetings with the comprehensive wastewater management plan, it'd be time to have workshops to address the entire town with what's going to happen in the next 20 years in the town of Wareham. Because there's gonna be a lot of sewer projects.
Yep.
Because we have to address this, we're required to do this through the Department of Environmental Protection. So we should have a lot of public meetings on what we're planning on doing.
When will we be getting something from them so that we can start to schedule that kind of thing?
Immediately, we're ready to schedule now. We're gonna meet with, so our first meeting we would like to do with the town planner, the individuals like that, maybe different boards and committees, sewer
How about
department.
us?
You're automatic, sewer department. So there's gonna be a bunch of people meeting, and we should find a venue where the public can come in. There's all these discussions, because there's quite a bit to discuss. We also need direction of the town. Where do we wanna go in 20 years? Sewer's a major issue. Global warming's a major issue. Sea level rise is a major issue. We got pipes underwater that'll be more underwater in 5 years. Will be greater underwater in 10 years. We got pump station that'll disappear. How do we wanna handle that? Because when it comes,
Bigger
it's
pumps?
too late to make a decision. And we wait till the last minute, because there's a lot of opposition, I get
We're
that.
good at that.
But these are the things that we have to do. It's not because we choose to, we have to, because the conditions are telling us that we have to do these things. So we're starting that, and so we'll get everybody involved, everybody's input, and then we'll figure out where we really go. And it's gonna be very expensive, but we gotta get there, and we could do it over 20 years. So we gotta figure out how we wanna do that, prioritize and go from there. So we've kicked that off. We've met with the DEP over it, and they'll be involved in this entire process, so we're gonna get that done. Let's see, what other projects we got going on? Gosh, I know I'm missing some. The generators, we're waiting for the generators, we're hoping to get them in October. It's been quite a while since
How
we
many?
ordered them. 2. One for Saltworks, that's
Which
gonna
you
go
ha-
onto that platform.
That platform has been
Is
completed.
up and
Yep.
done, and then we got another one going into Terry Lane, which is on a smaller platform.
Yep.
In Terry Lane. So we're just waiting, the generators were, minimum, when we ordered them, they were 8 months out, which would be October. We haven't had any confirmation when they're physically gonna get here, but we'll keep following that up. So projected date now is in October, which is a couple of weeks away, and we haven't heard anything that they're coming in, so that date may change as we progress along, so I can't answer that at this moment. I think that's the big projects. All right,
The Kendrick project scares me.
it scares me, I'm petrified, but we'll get there.
But I mean, yeah, right, we'll get there. But if they come online
Oh, they are,
faster than we can get Kendrick ready for them,
we're in trouble. I'm gonna have to put a pump truck there just to keep it going.
Yeah, but,
I get it, but I can't stop them. I can't stop them. They,
well, should we look for money to get Kendrick rebuilt?
so we've allocated funds to do the engineering. We're almost done. We're boring and we're gonna look at the cost of replacing of the 15-inch line, which would be just a big wet well. We think that's the least expensive and the quickest. So let's let them finish engineering probably a week or two.
How long is it gonna last?
The
When all of Great Hill gets online?
It's gonna take care of it all. We're gonna size
So
the
it'll be
15-inch.
sized so that we can handle everything.
So everything will come,
And everything that's already in the industrial park and everything else.
yes.
So it'll get, what's the name of that, the brewery place, that'll be no more problem, the fish place, all of that, none of that will be any more
As
problem?
long as they don't keep adding, because every time you turn around, they're adding something.
Well,
Flows
are we-
continue.
Are we thinking about that when you rebuild this place?
Well, we should think about everybody. We've got electronic factory that's doubled in size. We've got
So-
we've got to think about the long term. That's part of the planning.
Well, should
What do we do with that
Should we be
part?
looking for the money now?
One, we should be asking somebody how much more building can
We have to.
occur at those
Absolutely.
two.
That's gotta be number one. We gotta find out how much more is potentially available to be built and would be
Yeah.
allowable.
And I think it's
I-
private, isn't it?
I thought it was out,
I'm not sure.
I thought it was
I
our
think it
built
is.
out.
But I think- I
We
think
only
you're
own the
right.
road.
I think you're right. I'm
I
not
think
sure.
that's in a private industrial park. So we'd have to get the owner to figure out what, because I'll be blunt. If I'm an owner, I'm gonna keep renting because if I got space, I'm renting.
Of course.
Because it's income to me. I could
It
care
isn't
less
just
what you.
renting, it's building.
It's building and renting
Everything,
and.
everything out there is utilized right now. Is there not?
That's there.
Yes,
That's there now.
but they add.
So the question
kind of
is,
space
how
do
much
they have
more
to build more?
land is available to
That's right.
expand?
That's the question.
Okay, but if they put a new building out, that would be a new connection, and we can say, no, we can't handle it.
We're supposed to put a second floor on an existing building, because that's increased flow, we can say no,
It's
so that's
increased flow,
happening too.
yep.
So
In addition, we're in trouble.
So we gotta figure out what's going on,
So I think we really should think about doing something with Kendrick sooner than later.
yeah.
Well, we'll wait for the plan.
Yeah, because I talked to Russ today, I told him that's fast tracked, I gotta, because once I met with Great Hill, I said, okay, now the reality's here.
How much of them is ready to come on?
I'm sorry?
How much of Great Hill is ready to come on?
There's 14 units times 4, so that'd be 28 houses immediately. So that's 28 units at 200 gallons a day, immediately. And then there's others that are in place that have to be piped in.
How many units are in
5,600.
there?
There's, oh God, that's a good question. I think 300,
No way, really?
250? We have 66 online.
We have some online
We have
already,
66
right?
is only just a small smidgen.
So
Then
we-
there's all this and all this. I think there's a couple, 300. I'll have to get, I'll ask them for a
I
number.
think you're pretty close. It's,
I think that's a bunch. Goes forever.
Well,
I think it's at least 250. I know
They're
that.
squashed in
Yes.
there.
Pretty sure it's up there.
They are. Because I remember a number 220 to 250 when we first started talking about this
Yeah.
project. There's a ton of them in there. And they're all, and the back end is all failed. All the septic systems have failed. They got tons of failed septic systems, and so they're moving forward. And the new company hired a company to make these repairs and finish it, and I met with the guy, they're welling it. They want to get in and get out. Time is money in the private world.
And those renters are going to be taking on the cost.
Well, they're up in arms,
Yes.
but it's not gonna stop it, because it has to happen, because
well,
it's
do they
polluting.
also know that then they're gonna be paying a sewer bill?
Oh, they know it all. Because that was very upfront with, because the owners had to explain that, because this whole thing went through the AG's office.
The owner of the property would pay the sewer, not the renter.
Well, no, absolutely. He just passed it on in their.
In their fees.
In
the
their
rent
fees,
or
yes,
whatever
in-
they
yeah.
call it.
That's all it is. They just, he'd amortize it, he's divided, and
Yeah.
everybody get a piece. That's all.
Okay,
So that's where we are with that. I think that's all the heavy-duty projects. There's other small projects going on, but I think that's the heavy-duty projects that we're looking at.
Well, then is it a yes or no that we start looking for the money for Kendrick?
Sure, we'll start putting some feelers out, see how we're gonna look for the money. I'm trying to get, let me finally get a price.
Wasn't this engineered once? Didn't?
No, we've engineered
Russ
it
engineer this one?
twice for capacity. Now, that's been done, that's why, and we paid for a capacity study because we couldn't get the malt
Okay,
factory to
so
pay
we-
for it, so
we
that's
know
all
how
been
big
done.
we gotta get.
We
just
don't know yet.
have We don't have the drawings on what
We
it
gotta
will
figure
look
out
like.
how big we gotta get, what's gonna happen, put a price to it, and then start seeking the money, whether it's borrowed, begged, or, and I asked a legal question about, because it's a private park, can there be betterment? I don't know, and I never got a definitive answer. Because is it a project that we should better? Because the businesses are gonna benefit. They're gonna benefit tremendously. Are we spending all this money for the businesses to benefit?
How are they gonna benefit if they're just?
They can increase their size if
No,
we increase the
no,
sewer.
no, if they do nothing, there
If
is
they do
no
nothing, there's no benefit.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say one accounting firm is not gonna be happy to pay for an increase in a production building.
Well, that's something that the owner would have to vet through.
Mm,
But what I'm saying is, we're responsible for that road and that sewer. So if it overflows, the businesses are not responsible.
No.
The EP comes after us, so we have to make sure
Yeah.
we're, I
We
mean,
put a pump truck there like we did last time there was a
absolutely.
problem.
But that's our cost.
Yep.
And our cost is keeping the businesses making money. So the town is subsidizing the businesses. Anyways, so that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank God.
Sorry,
Thanks, Guy.
I'm trying to think of some good news, and I have nothing to give you
Oh,
right
yeah,
now.
Okay.
Christmas is coming.
It is, it
Does
is.
anybody have
Who can
any?
afford it?
Of course, who can afford it, but it's coming.
Does anybody have any unfinished?
Yes, I do. I still wanna know, when did we, the town of Wareham, ask for an increased outflow into the Agawam River? When did we ask for it? And can I get a copy of
2018.
it?
I don't, it was done at a meeting, it was not, the DEP
So we have
and
nothing in
EPA,
writing.
they would not
Let
put
him
it in
finish
writing.
talking, will
They would not put it in writing. The DEP and EPA, it's very difficult to get anything in
So
writing.
we never put it in writing to them.
We met with them on a Zoom meeting with the DEP and the EPA. It was Russ Cleclamp, Joe Federico, Corinne Peterson, and myself, and two representatives, one from the EPA and one from the DEP. And we asked the question, and they said, no, not at this time.
Okay, so for 2018, you had a Zoom meeting and you requested it and they said no.
So you can follow up with them
We have
individuals, yes. sir.
No
They put
recording
nothing
of
in-
that?
No, nothing in writing, nothing in writing.
So we never put our request in writing.
No, it was a meeting, and it's never in writing. If it's in writing, you won't get an answer. It's a non-committal thing.
So we even did Zoom back in 2018.
Yes, we did.
What do you mean it's a non-committal thing?
It's a tough explanation. The DEP is very reluctant to put anything in writing until they do an actual permit or an actual letter of something. But when you're asking them, we would like to increase this, because it's our question, we would like to increase this, how do we do it? They're not gonna put anything in writing because they don't want us to hold on them to anything, because everything is exploratory. These conversations are hypothetical. They're, what if we did this, what if we did that? They're not gonna crystallize it.
Hypothetically, dump twice as much and see if we hear from them.
We will, but then at that point, to be frank with you, if we were just to do it, then they would come at us and say, hey, and we'd have to, at that point, start talking about the legalities of doing it. And that's, I mean, some people believe in
It's been
asking
four-
forgiveness and all that good stuff,
It's
but
been 4 years. Can we ask them again?
we are. Mark has already asked him, we're in the middle of
Who's
asking them.
Mark?
Mark is our engineer, GHD, that's part of the comprehensive wastewater management plan. We're looking at
So-
increasing the flow, we're looking at decentralization, we're looking, so all that's being
So
looked at.
we have an outside company making their request on our behalf?
Our engineering firm,
When was the last time they made the request?
I would say maybe 7 days ago, I'll ask Mark.
And nothing in writing?
No. We're going to try, as part of the comprehensive wastewater management, we're gonna crystallize all our, with the outfall increase. We've already talked to them again about the Westfield project as far as, and we also talked about the Deacon's property, as far as doing a treatment plant. That's all discussed, and then we'll crystallize everything with the DEP after it gets through the hydrolysis, and then we'll see what we can get from them for commitments. And as we get closer to what we're gonna do, then you'll start getting writing, this is what's approved, that's what's approved. But right now, everything right now is, if you will, discussion.
So they could very well say you never asked.
They can say anything they want.
And we'll-
This is America, and even if you,
And
even if
they
it's
will.
in writing, they can say, we didn't say that, you misunderstood, that's not what I said, that's just the way we work.
I'm just trying to think, here we are a town, we can't put any incremental, flow into our plant. How do we tell the town what we're doing to allow us to move forward with
I'm gonna say something, and
additional?
it's probably not gonna be well received, but we should be at the canal right now, period. That's all
And
I'm
where
gonna
are
say.
we there?
Because everybody kept fighting it from day one.
And why are
From
we
day
stalled?
one, because everybody
I
fought
don't
fought
care
it.
about
Well, okay.
anybody, I'm
It
talking
doesn't
about
make
why
any
is it
difference what you
Wareham?
care on that. The purchase
Just the
was
bottom line.
stalled because we have no
The bottom line is we haven't got the
appreciation.
money to get to
We
the
have no,
canal.
that's part of it.
Part of it, but
Because
we
we're
gotta
doing it by
get
ourselves.
permission to get there and then look for the money.
We're not a regionalized operation.
Well, I know-
We don't have
How many
the
ways did you
support to
look to go to the
regionalize.
canal?
And we're talking about
Right.
how,
What were the other two?
The road,
I forget. how many
above ground, the rail, and underground.
Always going to the same point.
Yes, we also
Why?
looked, we always also looked out going to Stony Point through the onset pier. We looked at that too.
Why go that route?
Well, where do you wanna go?
The only discharge we can use is Mass Maritime.
No,
Right.
Why?
Well, you're right, we
I've been
have,
told there was no other discharge allowed.
that's what's available if we go
It's
the
available.
direction he's talking about.
Yes.
Period. Okay, so-
actually, it's a quicker process because it's an existing outfall.
That's right.
What you're asking for is to create a whole new outfall, which is a
Right.
whole new plethora of,
But I can make it a lot easier route, and it's a lot cheaper.
fine. We can present it. It's gonna take us longer to get there because we've gotta start from scratch, apply for that spot, and then all the,
But this we can afford.
oh, I'm afraid to ask if we can afford it.
Well, number one, we wouldn't necessarily have to go underground, and where we do go underground, we already own the property.
Where are you gonna go?
There's the map.
I thought we talked about directional drilling.
No, you
Under-
can't, there's no place we can go. We can't go to the Wareham River. We can't go anything, that's all, we can't
He's
go to
talking
any of those
about,
places.
he's talking about going out by the sand spit,
Well,
basically.
that would be interesting if you could get anything beneath that neighborhood.
That's all underground. You got a lot of property to go through. That's gonna be
In
tough.
concept, it's great, but I know what goes on out there.
Half of it's along
Good
street,
luck.
Wareham Street, part of it is through forest.
Yeah. Corps
It would
engineer,
only have to be 4
Part
feet
of it
down.
goes out through Burgess Point.
and it's,
Yes.
this one, there is, yeah, I don't know. We
In
can ask.
conservation land.
We can, we can look at it. They
Once
did,
a pipeline is in buried, it looks like a green on a golf course. Why would conservation give us any grief?
I didn't say conservation, I said they're all CRs, conservation restrictions on those properties out
yeah,
that way.
So,
That's right, too.
Put your directional
They
drill.
would not,
probably. I think directional, yeah, probably,
Yeah.
absolutely.
that
I would think it'd be the
directional
only way to
drilling
go is
doesn't
directional
sound like
drill.
it's
That's
such
the
a
only way you
godsend.
could make
I think the only way you can go is directional drill it.
you're right. You've got people in that point will fight you tooth and
Tooth and
nail.
nail. I don't care
Yes,
what anything
I don't
is.
care
Absolutely.
whether it's Burgess Point or Lydia Island or any of
Stop
those
playing
like
in
that,
that
you're
area.
No
going
matter
to.
where we go, we're gonna get a
Great Nick,
fight,
the
but at
point
least
of
we
Great
can
Nick.
afford this one.
Yeah,
Oh, I don't know if you can afford to fight them.
It's true.
I don't know, I can ask. I believe the engineers looked at all the different potential, but again, it was through the Mass Maritime because the state and federal government says existing would be easier to get there. This, we'd have to create the point and then do all the research for the point, and then we have to figure out the
That's
diffuse.
only a
So
mile down the canal.
we still gotta get there. Well, how long to get there? Is it 2 miles, 3 miles, 4 miles, 5 miles to get to the discharge point?
I don't know, I could walk it in an afternoon.
It's a heck of a walk. It's a heck of a walk.
You go right back under the river. You go over, you pick up, what is it, Great Hill Road? What's the name of the road?
Great Neck
Nick.
Road.
Great Neck
Great
Road.
Neck
Great Neck
Road.
Road.
Go follow it all the way out,
Mm-hmm.
all the way out
To the point.
to the sanctuary.
that doesn't exist anymore. Yeah.
The Audubon.
That's
The
all.
Audubon property.
Okay, all the way out, right out to the tip.
Let me find out, because it also has to do with flushing. It's in the canal, so you probably would get, you'd have to push it out into the flow of the canal because of
That's
flushing.
fine, do
Yeah,
it like
you'd have
we did up in Boston Harbor.
Yes, you'd have to push it out, and that costs, I don't know, but we'd have to price it out and then
The
work
thing is that
backwards, but.
it's all in Wareham, so we don't have to deal with any other town.
Well, we really weren't. We were gonna go underground to the state property,
Yeah, but Bourne was giving us some grief.
because of the effects. Are they gonna give us grief because of the other side? It's gonna go to the Bourne property. Their grief because they're saying when the sewer at the canal, it's gonna drift over and pollute the island over there. Is this gonna be the same argument? Because it's still gonna go to Mashpee Island and, you know, parts of Bourne, parts of Falmouth, and that was the argument. We'll have the same argument, because we gotta push out to the canal. So, yeah, no matter what we do,
But
we're gonna
there are-
get pushback.
Yeah. That may have been their argument, but it wasn't going to fly. What they could do is they could stop us from going through their town property.
No, they can't. We were going to state property. We're going underground to state
We're
property.
going straight state property.
Was that the
direction?
determination?
Yeah, we're going directional drill to Mass Maritime.
Right,
To the
we
football
weren't,
field.
we weren't going through their property.
I
Up in the
never did
football
hear
field.
that, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
we're gonna come up to the football field and then then go back under and come out at because the state owns that bay, if you will, along the canal where they park the ship or they dock. That's all state property. And we're gonna come, that's where our diffusers are gonna go, on state property. Mass Maritime is a state property. That's why and they wanted to go, and so that's why we used that, because
Yeah,
everybody was in
floats up.
agreement. But Bourne got involved because the folks in Gray Gables were saying, yeah, but it's gonna drift over here, it's gonna kill us, and
But all of the studies proved that wasn't gonna happen.
people, science doesn't matter. Science
Do
doesn't
not
matter.
confuse them with facts when
Science
their
doesn't
minds
matter.
are made
We
up.
spent tons of money on Woods Hole, they did all the studies, the flows, absolutely. You and I we've seen it,
Well, I was there,
we've
right?
seen it, but that doesn't, they don't wanna hear it. Doesn't matter, facts is not, someone has an opinion and that's what's.
Let's not confuse them
Absolutely.
with facts.
It's, went crazy, went
I'd
ballistic.
still be interested to find out what.
Let me find out. Can I have this?
Yeah,
I will find out. I will run it by, absolutely, I'd like to look at it. Any opportunity or any alternative, yeah, absolutely, I'll do that.
and we could pick up Jimmy's house on the way, so he gets him out of the hill.
Well, he's gonna pay, yeah, we're gonna get him anyway.
I think I made my deposit to the sewer plant today, that when they pumped me out,
Oh, you did?
yeah. $500.
Pump house getting crazy.
Oof. Woo. Howie needs to come back in business.
It's crazy, it's crazy, it's crazy to pump out septic.
Are we done?
Yeah, next meeting is the 29th. Donna's here, so
Yeah.
we can actually,
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
7:52?
7:52.
Okay.